Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will show you how I made this graduation cake for my daughter. She graduated this year, so I decided to make her a cake. So their colors are red and black. So I wanted to make sure her cake colors were red and black. And sorry I sound like this. I'm just not feeling well right now. But just bear with me. So I cut out some strips. I really can't tell y'all the size I cut them because I mainly just cut them the size of the ruler for the larger strips. And then for the smaller strips, I think I did probably a few centimeters. So I just didn't have an exact measurement. I didn't want to measure actually because then you would have to make sure everything is completely even. So I kind of eyeballed it to what I think is right. And I did that for the red and black fondant. So what I did to determine the pattern I will use, I just tested different ways. I used the computer to see which pattern I thought that looked best to me. So I also drew it on a piece of paper, and that's what I'm referencing to see what comes next mainly. So you can have your strips in whatever pattern you want. I just did mine two large strips, and then two small strips, and I just went in that pattern. Also, instead of having a white strip, I just used the buttercream as the white space. So, and that helped save on time too, instead of cutting out white strips also. I just didn't want to do all that. So I just used my buttercream as the white space. Also, you can see they are thin. So I made sure I rolled them out thin and as even as possible between the red and the black strip. Now you'll see me putting like a dummy strip in between them just to keep the same distance between each pattern. The best way to lay your strips are going back and forth from side to side. So you'll see me starting on the right side, and then I will go to the left side of the larger strips. So that way you can find your center. And if it don't match up at the end, then that will be at the back. So you won't see it. It will be at the back. So that's the best way to lay patterns on a cake, is just to move from side to side instead of just doing the pattern and going all the way around in one direction. Just go back and forth from side to side until you get to the back. Until you reach the end. This is a good time to go ahead and subscribe if you hadn't already. Also, click the notification bell so you won't miss any of my other uploads. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Crafted Cakes and Desserts. Okay, now I'm using my scissors just to cut the as much as the excess off as I can. And then after that, well, actually, I forgot, I put it in a refrigerator so it can, the fondant can kind of firm up a little bit. So now I'm doing my polka dot layer, and my cake layer height, they are 6 inches. So that's how tall these cakes are. They're 6 inches. Now the polka dot layer, you will see me going back and forth from side to side. I am starting with my red, and I have 4 of those going down, and then for my black I have 3, which are in the center. So you see I started on the right side of the red, and then once I placed all my black, I go to the left side. Especially with polka dots, you want to make sure that you start from side to side. We'll go back and forth because polka dots are kind of iffy unless you just a master at putting polka dots. And I think I do pretty good with polka dots, to be honest. Try to get them as even as possible. But it worked out fine for me with my polka dots by the time I got to the end, because I did space them out pretty good. If you can tell, they kind of came together pretty good. You really can't tell where I started and where I ended. Just remember to go back and forth from side to side, and by the time you get to the end, it will be good. So now I am just using an X-Acto knife to cut the extra fondant and make it as even to the cake as possible. All right, now it's time to stack my cake. So you already know, for the bottom layer, you add your straws or your dowels to make sure the top tier doesn't smush the bottom tier. And I think I already did that before. I think I already added them in there. Yeah, I think I did. I think I did. So, of course, have your gloves on because I do have buttercream on it, and you don't want your fingerprints in it or to melt the buttercream. So I added some buttercream at the top so I can make my top tier stick. And that, but what I do is I place my layers in the refrigerator to make sure they are as firm as I can get them before I start stacking, because you do not want to stack a soft cake. That's a disaster. All right, this is the next day. I had these cakes in the refrigerator all night, and now it's time to put my border on it. I was going to do a fondant border, but again, I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like it, so I just did a buttercream border. And I just made a simple border just to hide the cake board. Now, my numbers, I cut those out. Y'all seen me cut out stuff before. Of course, I use a template that I printed off using Word. And I cut these pretty thick because I wanted them to stand out. And I used my gold luster dust. I really love it. I can't remember what it is, but I have it in the description box. The only thing I will say is it bleeds on black really badly for some reason. I don't know, but I really like it. I really do. So all I did was mix that luster dust with a little of Everclear to make like a paint like consistency, and I painted my numbers, and that's it. Okay, now it's time for me to put all the components on the cake. I already put the hat on. I just made it out of Rice Krispie treats. I'll let y'all know how I made it in another video because I didn't record it. And I did record me making the bow, but it wasn't at a really good angle, so you really couldn't see it well. So I have to re-record that, which I hate that I couldn't show y'all in this video, but I will bring it in another video. And you see my little supervisor there telling me what I need to do, my husband. But I did paint the bow also black. And since we were traveling with this cake for about an hour or so, I wanted to make sure that the bow was secure, and I added toothpicks on the inside so you can't see it. And I did my ribbons to fall down, and I wanted it to have a little movement to it. So I kind of you see I made like some, I really don't know what it's called, but I made it look like it had a little movement to it instead of it being flat to the cake. So I just put some dips and stuff in it. I used piping gel to place my bow, my numbers, and the stems to the bow on to make it whole. And I just popped it in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes before we left. And that's the thing. I finished this cake the day that we needed it. And right before we left, I was like, look, let me put it in the refrigerator for a couple minutes before we leave. Yeah, sometimes when I'm doing cakes for myself, I just procrastinate. I don't know why, because I could have finished this that night, but I decided not to. I really wanted my bow to make sure it dried. So I did add Tylose powder to that. So it was for one day that I let it dry, because you want your bow to be firm so it won't get messed up. But anyway, I just finished placing everything on the cake, and I think it turned out great. See, it really turned out great. Y'all let me know in the comment section if you like this video. Also, give me a thumbs up and click the notification bell so you won't miss any other upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video. See y'all.